Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of San Jose by Night, City of Glass. Episode 5, Mind Your Elders. Now, in the previous episode, we ended up having an interesting little development that happened to end up coming about. Specifically, Lila having how shall we politely put this? An episode in the middle of feeding. This has given a bit of a rippling effect, with not only Susie forced to spend a good portion of the day to hide their, earlier transgressions, at least on a digital platform, but Elliot pulled into work. Fact of the matter is that such things become difficult. The masquerade is upheld primarily by oneself. The lack of witnesses, the lack of evidence. Never let the kind know that kindred are currently amongst their midst. Don't let the world know that vampires exist. And sometimes, covering up can't just be done with one individual. Sometimes, in fact, oftentimes, you need a coterie. And that coterie is important. That coterie allows you to have access and resources you wouldn't ordinarily have access to. Being a coroner for San Jose's finest, you will end up finding Elliot has to spend many late nights having to end up worrying about what it is that comes across his slab, or who, in some cases. Fact of the matter is all too frequently, these events go unnoticed in the public eye. The kindred like to keep it that way, because unfortunately, all too frequently, this gets the attention of the Second Inquisition. The Second Inquisition. Now there's a name that'll make a kindred ears perk up. All too frequent. Hunters. Maybe the more traditionalists would refer to them as. But here, in San Jose, it's an organized effort. Government agents, police, firefighters, private investigators, hackers, all myriads of types, all working to end up going through one purpose. To end up rooting out and removing the kindred threat. Blank bodies, they call them. Quite frequently. And with San Jose seemingly infested now with Second Inquisition looking to amass something a little bit heavier, there's a concern brewing. Which brings us all the way back around, doesn't it? Elliot, you have encountered somebody during your most recent autopsy. A figure who, certainly unnatural. At least that's the perception that you have arrived to. And yet, it's at this exact moment, I would like to end up bringing it back to the Coterie Haven. This mansion, owned and controlled by the Camarilla, an offered piece of domain for you all. The night's grown long, and yet it's just finalizing now. We have a situation brewing, one that I'm sure you can't wait to tell all of your fellow coterie mates of the Midnight Menagerie. What are you thinking as you try and end up approaching back to Haven?
Elliot is honestly completely terrified. He doesn't know what's going on, what he was gonna say. All he knows is he has to look at the face of someone who he's never seen anything quite like what he has seen this evening, and he doesn't know how to take it.
I'm sure that will change in due time. However, at the coterie house, who are we finding when Elliot finally shows up? An empty coterie house, perhaps?
Lila, after having finished the conversation with Fish and Susie, would have gone up to get her jacket and her bag and probably would meet Elliot on her way out. As she's decided to go cool off from what could have been an argument. And maybe go talk to her sire about it. Got some questions of her own, so.
Wow. Long shower gets most of the blood out. Though, with the kindred's keen sense of smell, it still lingers in the air around you. Maybe that's what some are experiencing whenever they find somebody particularly just unnerving. But for you, it's something else. I have no doubt that you're trying to end up covering up the elongated ears, proof of your indiscretion, running a little wild as the gangrel are wont to do. Which then leaves us with, at this exact time, Doc and Fishmonger. What are you two doing at this time, if not at the coterie house?
Well, Doc would be still around the area where the unfortunate accident happened. Kind of listening and gathering a bit of information on what the police might be doing elsewhere as well.
Difficult to say. Your contacts are typically not involved with the police, but the other side of the line of legalese. But you might be able to catch wind of a thing or two, depending on their perspective, but it's limited. What about Fishmonger? What's Fishmonger up to right now?
Well, he would have also temporarily left the domain house to let cooler heads prevail in the wake of could have been a long and heated argument. He stepped out to find some solace by checking up on his family before he returns.
I can certainly see a response to that. A need to find yourself in comforting near faces and familial surroundings, even if you can never be a part of it again, given the fact that you look like a hideous monstrosity, that there's certainly nothing human left of your face. Guess that's a small price to pay, given the fact that you lost everything. At least now it can't be tracked, not under basic surveillance at least. Wonder if fingerprints still work. Curious thought. So let us go back to the Coterie Haven as Lila is just about to leave. When Elliot eventually pulls up, Elliot being a long night and you all only having a few hours left before the day.
As Elliot comes in and notices Lila just about to leave, he's going to make himself scarce and try to take a roundabout way to avoid getting anywhere near Lila at the moment.
Arguably the smartest thing one Tremere could do, given the presence of a gangrel fresh from frenzy. Lila, whether you choose to engage this or not is entirely in your discretion.
She's just gonna watch him for a moment as she's digging for her motorcycle keys out of her bag. Just not going to bite, you know.
Sorry, was that last part directed at me?
Yes.
Elliot will have heard you, but he is not going to say anything. And he's going to go up to his room and just splash water on his face. Even though it's not going to do anything. It's that old habit of when he was alive.
You know, Elliot, you can still see the condensation on the mirror. Shower recently used and still dripping down. Twisting the face as it does, a refracted light through water, through a reflective surface and back again. You can't help but look in the mirror and see your own face as though it were melting. Crude reflection, or perhaps a more accurate truth than what you present to the world.
All he's gonna get after that is a call up the stairs of she may not be back by dawn, but not to worry because she does have a place.
With that and waiting a bit, he will then go back downstairs and wait for the others to come back.
Lila's bike roars to life. Lila, there is something soothing about the wind against your skin. As you rev up, you can end up feeling the pace quicken. It's like hunting. Motorized, but you can still feel it as though you're in chase. You're still in the chase. Feels good. Probably the closest you felt to feeling alive since, well, finally being able to fully feed, satiate the beast inside. Still, you have places to be. I believe, what was the place? I want to say Rosie's?
Mm-hmm. Rosie's Bar. The small dive bar her sire owns, and that she herself lives above.
Combination of work and haven all in one nice location. Can't say you were ever late for work.
Exactly.
Still, it helps when you end up finding a place that has everything tied together. You may be back to your true fledgling days. Remember spending weeks at a time, never leaving the same building. It felt more like a cage at first. Now it feels more like a den. Place to come back to. Some children have a hard time letting go of their sires. Maybe it's akin to adolescence, or the vampiric state of it. Who knows? But it takes a little bit. Motorcycle riding through the city, passing lights, and a need to cut loose. It still feels pretty good. While you do that, let's jump over to Doc. Doc, you've tried to end up gathering what information you can. Coroner's already ended up taking hold of the body, and police brought the family down to, well, the wife down to the station. Husband's currently in the ER. No idea how he's doing. You do, however, hear those rumors of a bandaged figure, something lurking around. And it's been going on for a couple of days now. New development. Though you wouldn't know exactly who this individual is. It is definitely something that some of the boys were talking about. Something that they know just ain't right. And they have seen some things that just ain't right.
I definitely should let the others of the coterie know at this point. Especially if there ain't something right about bandaged individual. Most people that are bandaged should be resting, not walking around. So, with this bit of information, I'm going to end up going back to the coterie house, see who all is there.
One can hope. Busy as the night has been. You take your way to end up heading back to the coterie house. But as you end up approaching the coterie house, one coterie member is coming home. Fishmonger, what is home? Paint us a picture.
Home is a rather average-sized townhouse in a little suburban neighborhood. It's got usually quiet streets. It's away from the center of downtown, and it's where he spent about let's say 8 years of his life before all of this happened to him. Home is also where his wife and daughter live still. Unfortunately, having to still pay off the rest of the mortgage without his income from the fishing industry.
Well, the advantage, you end up going out to sea for weeks, if not months on end. Coming back for a couple of weeks just to cool off, and then out for a few months again. It's how father should show he ends up loving his family by providing for them, even if it's painful to separate. And yet, now, you're just as separated, but can provide nothing. You're on the wrong side of the grave for that, fishmonger. Instead, as you watch, probably from that usual spot, the spot that's out of the way, the spot that gives you a little bit of view, maybe able to look through the windows. You can look just past through the kitchen, you know, that has that side front door, or that side door that leads to the front. You can end up seeing cleaning supplies. Looks like she's just come back from a cleaning job. She's been taking on all kinds of odd jobs just to try and end up paying off what little of the mortgage she can. Looks like your child is going to be eating ramen noodles again because, well, gotta stretch a dollar. You can see that they're not really seeing eye to eye. Maybe she's perturbed with what has happened to your grave. Maybe she's just not spending any more time with them. Maybe they're just stretching it all way too goddamn thin. No one really plans for their own sudden removal. And realizing all these little things that make people reliant on them, that can be difficult. It can be incredibly difficult and strenuous. And yet, when it all comes down to it, you can't do much of anything. You're just here to watch. Little more than observing them through the window, that for all intents and purposes they might as well exist in a fucking snow globe.
Yeah. Definitely hurts to watch them from afar, but pain is how you know you're still alive, right? And at least this way, he can keep an eye on them still and make sure that nothing from his world crosses over to theirs. Hopefully.
Roll me a wits awareness, please.
Two successes.
Oh. Hold that thought, Fishmonger. We have... I just have to change a few things, and then we'll get to the grand reveal, so to speak. As it would seem, we are now joined by one lethality complex. Appreciate that you managed to make it out, brother.
Apologies. I thought I was dealing with a network failure of catastrophic proportions.
Turns out it was just Second Inquisition.
Those assholes were trying to silence me. Let's show those bastards.
Let me just reset the new layout. And there we go. Fishmonger. I would give you either the option to reroll. Now what I'm looking for is 4 successes. So you can wits willpower. For out of 2 successes, you need 2 more. It's a 1/4 chance for you to observe something important. Or you can succeed at a cost. Succeed at a cost, however, implies that what you're going to witness is far worse than what I initially had planned. I'm going to escalate it. But at least you'll be aware.
Hard choices.
I rarely make them easy.
I think I would like to be aware more than I would like to mitigate it. So I'll take the cost for success.
You'll take the cost. Okay. Let me double check something here.
Yeah.
A car pulls up. Pulls right up to the door. Turns off the ignition and steps out. A woman, short, slender, steps out. And you recognize the face. You recognize Jude from Temptation's End. She seems to walk to the door, knock on it. Your wife, your widow, walks on to the door, invites her in, seems very glad, hugs her, holds her tight. And the door closes. You see that when she ends up walking in, she's suddenly crouched down, speaking to your child. Reaches in, offers them something. You're too far of a distance, but they seem to be excited with whatever the hell it is that Jude has offered her. Gives her a ruffle on the head, as her skitter off to the living room. And there's something inside you that boils. There is something that is enraged. You can feel the beast just walking back and forth in the cage that you keep it in the pit of your stomach.
Can't go in though. I'm gonna have to find another way to figure out what's going on.
But Jude can. Jude walked right on in and made herself at home.
Oh. Those people blessed with human appearance. Would I know if this is Temptation Ends domain?
Roll me a intelligence politics.
Okay.
After all, domain is certainly involved in Camarilla politics, so it would certainly apply.
That is 4 successes.
It isn't. They have about as much right to be here as you do. As in none.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Fishmonger feels a little more entitled because was his previous family, but yeah, according to the rules of Kindred Society, you kind of need permission to be here if you don't own it. Would I happen to know who owns this area?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said this is just outside of Midtown?
Yeah. It's like residential suburbia outside of the downtown area.
Just outside of downtown. Then that would put you on the border edge of Sheriff Gash's domain. You know, the one that gave up a small chunk to give you domain. Might be a little salty about that still. After all, it wouldn't be much in exchange. After all, your domain is literally carved out of a chunk of Temptation Its End and Sheriff Gash's domain pieces. So,
all right. Well, they've been neighbors for a while, so it's interesting. Maybe she did get permission. I'll have to ask her.
Maybe.
At a more opportune time.
But then again,
for now,
the sun is coming up. Well, it will be in a few hours. And Fishmonger,
for now, go ahead.
I want to point something out. Your wife, as soon as she sits down, it seems that Jude is off to make a spot of tea. And then right there, she seems to be leaning in. And you have no doubt in your mind what you are watching as she is feeding off of your wife. It's a quick thing. A small thing. The wound's already licked up by the time your daughter ends up coming back into the room.
All right. This changes things. What's her car like? What's her vehicle like?
Her vehicle is shoddy. You get the impression like something out of the early 90s. Honestly, this thing probably should be taken off the goddamn road. We can take it off the goddamn road.
I would like to find a way inside.
Inside of the vehicle?
Yes.
I'll require a dex larceny if you don't intend to damage it, or you can just do strength athletics if you don't give a shit.
It already looks shoddy, and I don't give a shit because she's feeding on my family. Already fed on my wife. She feeds on Anna. You know, heads are gonna roll.
Roll me a strength athletics.
All right.
How do you intend to go through this? Using your strength? Are you just gonna rip the door clean off and leave it hanging? You want to just bust through the side window? Do you want to punch a hole through the windshield?
I think at the moment, Fish still doesn't want to make too loud a noise, so he's not going to break the glass. But I think
I get what you're coming at then. So, like,
he's
more
definitely
likely,
gonna.
you grab hold
Oh,
of
go
the
ahead.
door handle, you lift it
Yeah.
up just to undo the latch. The locking mechanism is still in place, but when you end up grabbing hold of the top, you start to bend some of the metal. You can kind of see the window starting to bend, maybe threatening to crack, but it's just enough to reach your arm and unlatch it. Better than a coat hanger, that's for sure. And since it's 4 successes, I'll gladly end up giving you, you haven't triggered any kind of alarm or anything. How it's sold, it probably was just starting when they were installing alarms. But you're in, certainly.
It's just the fisherman's forte, the waiting game until he can catch his prey in a more secluded setting.
It's definitely gonna be. It's not like isn't obvious that the door was pried. Bent doors are kind of hard to hide. But I assume then you just get inside and wait.
Yep.
So
he'll be waiting in the back seat, by the way, just in case it wasn't clear.
that I am glad you informed to be specific. And while you do the waiting game, let's go back to the coterie house. Susie, you just finished up that last bit of code. You're about as confident as you can be that you managed to erase whatever digital traces Lila may have left behind. Lila's already stormed out. You heard the motorcycle rev like a goddamn demon when she ended up flying out. Elliot has managed to just return after coming back from his job at the coroner's. At this point, you've done all you can on this end. Anything further would need for you to leave the location. And let's be real here, you're not comfortable doing that for anything less than filling your stomach. So, Susie, what are you doing?
Yes. So I would have just heard people returning to the coterie house.
Oh, you would have heard Elliot. Susie fucked off.
Yeah, Lila did vanish off into the night.
Yeah.
Susie sitting in her little nest, shaking her head at it all.
The fact that you heard it, I imagine, is something to be said. After all, you did design this room to be relatively soundproof.
Oh yeah, soundproof? Most certainly. But not so soundproof that if I was to pop something like heightened senses, that things wouldn't filter in. At least in a muffled sense. But she's gonna deign to head out there and deal with them. And so she hops up after having done another once over of Lila's little indiscretion just to make sure there was nothing else that she missed digital-wise, and there isn't. She was as thorough as she could have been.
Absolutely.
At least with that at least without drawing more attention.
It's about that
And-
time, as you do so, you hear another set of wheels pull up. Sounds like Doc. Starting to get good ear for these things.
Oh, good. Someone who, well, is completely unaware of what's going on. Oh, don't I have some bad news for him? She exits her little nest, coming downstairs.
As you get down the stairs, you just see Elliot sitting at the table with his head in his hands, just slouched over.
Yeah, not pleasant, huh?
You
from out-
didn't see the body.
I don't need to.
After about a few moments, Doc would end up coming through the door.
Doc Saturday.
Oh,
A breath of fresh air. You're gonna want to sit down.
more interesting news, I see. And Doc will go over and sit down.
So,
Sure.
let's just rip this band-aid off nice and quick. Lila lost her shit and ate a kid.
Yeah,
Don't worry, I've already done digital cleanup for a little escapade afterwards.
Physical traces are gone, as well as I could.
that is good to know. The father has been hospitalized.
Yeah, she, Wait, the father?
Yes, she
Yeah.
attacked the father, and the father is now hospitalized. Not dead, so he might have gotten a decent look at her. And the wife is currently at the police station. Seems they heard the noise when the child was turned into. And got
that-
attacked.
Elliot, don't try and make those sorts of jokes, dude. It just doesn't
I
suit you.
didn't. I'm not joking.
You were gonna say before she turned him into soup or something
No,
equally
I just groaned because I can't even finish my sentence. It's too.
It's more the fact that you tried to start the sentence with that, dude. I have clinical detachment from these sorts of things. I can get away with it without hurting myself too badly. You're a coroner. You can't do that. Little bit of mental health advice from me to you. No charge. Anywho,
It's good to know you care.
I care insofar as, quite frankly, you people losing your shit and going on murderous rampages is as bad for me as it is for you. Because you want to say the last thing I want to deal with? Again? Those
Yeah.
assholes that blew up a computer in my face.
Yeah, that would be bad. Speaking of
Yeah.
Doc, when you
Oh,
have a
well.
moment, I could use a word.
Very well.
Uh,
Anytime.
yeah, I'll let you have a moment alone in a little bit. I'll be heading back up to my nest in a second. But
Oh, yeah, I should probably mention I had an encounter in my coroner's office. I met the sire of fish.
Interesting.
Oh,
She
this just
said
keeps-
she
just keeps
said to
getting
look
better.
out for the sheriff. He's probably going to get involved.
Yeah, because that's exactly what we need. And given that he's literally in the next domain over, from what I remember. Meh.
We were
Figured
going
it
to have
was
to
worth
deal with him.
mentioning.
We were going to have to deal with him sooner or later anyway. But
Yeah, but now we're deserving of his personal attention. We've been around like a month and a half, man. This is a bad time. This is just a bad time.
it will not
First
go.
it was Temptations, and then it was the stupid reporter and this Second Inquisition crap, and now it's Lila having gone off the deep end. What's next?
Can't say things haven't gotten interesting as of late.
I think interesting is a little underwhelming, don't you think?
No, I think
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect summary.
Yes. Speaking of information, by the way, there have been rumors going around about a bandaged individual walking around. Someone that doesn't seem quite right or natural.
I do believe that would be the sire of fish.
Oh, good.
We
So now we've got a second one to look out for.
kinda need to figure out why they are poking around.
I tried not to ask too many questions when they appeared inside my office.
Look, most of that could probably be broken down to, given that they have the ability to possess the same kind of stealth that I do. In addition to being able to punch holes through solid concrete walls.
I didn't
And-
fight. That would have been bad.
If that is the case, then why have people been talking about it?
Yeah,
That
that's a
concerns
really
me.
good. That's a really good question. Why, if she has stealth, why hasn't she been employing it? Unless it's something completely different. Or we're looking at something that's even more stupid, and we can just sit here and say that the good news just keeps coming.
This
You
is
know
all
what?
over my head.
I'm going to give Susie. I want you to roll me an intelligence plus wits,
Inwits?
because I think you're tapping in on something. That'll be enough.
3?
3 will certainly be enough, at least for you to get the gist of it. Why would she let herself be seen unless she wanted to be? Unless she wanted somebody to know she was there. Maybe the domain holders?
Oh, was she seen on our domain, or was she seen in Temptation's End, or where was she seen, Doc?
All around our door.
Then she's trying to get our notice.
And then
It
she
seems
came
right.
to me.
Yeah, directly, which means that she wants to talk. Well, she wanted our attention. She's now got it. And you know what? The sooner that I get the security system spread out throughout this domain, the better. I want to make sure that there is nothing in this domain that doesn't happen without us knowing.
And I think on that note, it's a fantastic time to do a bit of a scene jump. See, certain places Kindred can go. Certain places that, well, have a certain atmosphere. Something a little bit more aggressive, something a little bit more not quite with it, not quite chic. Rosie's Bar is a cavalcade of chaos, even in its after hours. Motorcycle pulls up. Lila steps off. Neon lights made probably way back in the 80s. Some of it's gone out, but it's still legible. Casts a red light as the rose of the icon of this particular establishment glows down upon you. You step on to the steps, start to make your way in. Some of the regulars are all around you, starting to maybe get involved in a game of pool, some saying around. A couple who are... You can smell the cigarette smoke despite the fact they're sitting there, but the no smoking sign just happens to be there. Not like anybody's ever enforced that rule. That's just the kind of place where Rosie's is. But it doesn't take you long to end up spotting who you're looking for. There she is, sitting at the end of the bar, observing things, barking orders on occasion, giving other people the side eye to cool it. The den mother of all these mothers, so to speak. More accurately, your sire. She's dressed appropriately. Biker leathers. Has old handkerchief around her neck. Kind of reminds you of the old days where she ended up pulling up her hair, putting it over her hair, face in order to, well, cover it up. Reminds you of the old days. But maybe that was when they used to rob trains.
After greeting a couple of the regulars on their way in, trying to keep the changes on her face from being noticed, thank God a good portion of them are probably too drunk to notice. She's going to make her way over and just kind of sit down at the bar in front of her sire. Any chance we can talk in the office?
She looks to you. Gives you a nod. Ends up starting to wander on out. Gets into the office and sits herself down. Takes her a second to end up relaxing a bit. You can see her features are as dark as ever, though she's very at home here. So what can I do for you, kid?
Cause a little bit of a ruckus. And she's gonna motion to your ears. Any idea how long this is gonna last?
This being...
Oh, I don't know. The fact that, my ears are a little bit longer, a little bit more pointed. I feel like a goddamn elf.
Ah, sweet. Well, let's take a look at you. Kind of gestures for you to lean in, and the moment that you do, she'll end up grabbing you by the jaw and just kind of, you can feel like her strength in her hand as she kind of tilts your head to the side to get a better look at him. Tilts to the other side. She's looking at you more like a museum piece than, her childer. Well, fancy that. Give it a few days, you should be fine. Doesn't stay permanent. At least not till you get older. Just smiles a bit. You can kind of see that, even though her fangs are retracted, there's still a bit of a point to them. And it's not just one. She seems to have them in pairs on both sides.
Oh, that's good to know. Unfortunately, that means I can't work in the bar until this goes away.
Yeah, well, you're gonna... Now, all of a sudden, you're bringing that bit of pain in the ass to my establishment. Well, that's just fucking great. Well, can't give you too
What
hard
would I
of a
be if
time
not a
about
pain
it.
in your ass?
Yeah, well, sometimes I think of preferred ashes, but, gotta make do with the rules as they are.
As far as I know, it's getting cleaned up. Our dear Malkavian has a way with the digital aspects, and then we're so lucky to have a coroner.
Lucky? Please. Tremere just needed another excuse. They wanted to end up catching another edge. It's just like any other one of them, just another tool to be used. Tool, thankfully, you can end up using at this point. You can be grateful, just keep him on a short leash. And don't let him know nothing unless you want him to know something.
That won't be too hard. I think he's kind of afraid of me now.
Well, keep it that way. Bash his brains in, remove his bottom jaw, and have him crawl home. Make an example of him. Gotta establish the pecking order early.
Yeah, that's not going to be too hard. And no, the only issue I'm going to have is with that Nosferatu. High and mighty attitude.
Yeah, well. Nosses have a tendency to fuck you when they end up getting the opportunity, so you end up making sure that you end up keeping that chastity belt on.
Will do.
So, still riding the high.
Oh, yeah. Should have seen what I did when it was at its peak. Never knew jumping off a building could be so thrilling.
Oh, you ended up going for a while. When I was out in Mammoth, Arizona, we ended up having I remember my first. Was working as a cook in a boarding house at that time. Fire got the best of me for a bit, and then one of the service lads ended up getting in the way. Remember that it went from run to feed immediately. I think I left him as a stain, stuffed his body underneath the floorboards. About that time, mine closed, and let's just say that need to end up here earning a bit of petty cash. Mine closed down at that time. Of course, those were different times. I had to live a long time before I finally had to end up tried to end up doing the whole city living. Found out that going on about 60 years after the fact just didn't really serve me too well. Tried to end up doing it like the city folk did. Wasn't my style. What can you do when you gotta make do?
That's true.
Sorry, I'm waxing nostalgic again. I think that's what happens when you get older. You start waxing nostalgic, and everything suddenly reminds you of some fling or something else you did back then.
Yeah, but you've always got the most interesting stories when it comes down to that.
Well, not to brag, but I can still shoot a Colt.
Yeah, that's what you said when you handed me that first gun.
So, what ends up bringing you along? Just to inform me that you're no longer going to be my working girl for a little bit?
Oh, figured two birds, one stone, get answers about this little change, and then let you know about that.
Alright. So let's talk about that. That's going to happen more and more frequently. Helps when you have excuses. For instance, I might have some business arrangements out of town. I might have to go to a convention. I might have to end up doing whatever. I just have to end up keeping track of what's going on. Say I'm going to be going off somewhere and, well, a little more than a plane ticket and a ride-off. Gives me a few days to cool down. Of course, your method of feeding makes things a little bit more complicated, but, well, who am I to judge? Kid coming into her own, really. So,
Kid coming in and eating the kid is what happened.
ooh. Yeah, that'll get you some stigma. Everybody's going to try and end up telling you that you end up doing this, what kind of atrocity and all this kind of stuff. Reality is most of them are just trying to pretend like as if there's so much higher on the morality totem pole and beat you over the head with it. It's just a way to end up exercising power over you. That's how they like
Which
to
I'm
end
not
up
gonna let
being.
that happen.
You better not, otherwise I might have embraced the wrong girl. I'd
Oh,
rather
they can
not
try all they want.
make sure of that. Test them, push them. See what makes them tick. Start to realize that everybody's trying to end up throwing a leash around you. Fact is that you don't have much to end up worrying about. Not when it comes down to the big picture. You, unlike them, don't have to be tied down. You just gotta behave long enough to get what you need. Get the lay of the land, play it smart. Don't play their games, make them play yours.
Definitely learning that.
Fact of the matter is that this is still a shit deal. I almost regret bringing you in. But then again, I can't wait to end up seeing what kind of entertaining havoc you're about to cry.
Well, I hope this is a good opener for you. Got my own goddamn coterie in a stir. Got the Tremere so afraid of me he can't look me in the eye. Malkavian's busy. Nosferatu trying to pull a, I guess you could say, a more Ventrue attitude.
Oh.
Don't know
Somebody
about the
already
other
running.
two.
Well, we'll have to end up figuring that one out together now, won't we? Alright, you're not gonna be in. I'll give you the next 3 days. She reaches over and starts writing something on the calendar, like as if she's got to remind herself fixed schedule or some shit. Otherwise, she doesn't seem to be too disjointed on the whole thing.
Well, at least Laura would be able to get some extra hours in.
Well, one can hope. Anything else you need, darling?
Nah. I'm just gonna be staying up top for the night, or the remainder of the night. Cooler heads prevail and all that.
Just smiles a little bit at you. You can see those 2 additional fangs, not fully extended like a vampire. Almost appears as though maybe her teeth have been modified. You know, it was kind of a trend back in the day, so maybe she just had some dental work done. It's not enough to set off fire alarms, but it's definitely unusual. She doesn't mind flashing it. She's had those as long as you've known her. It makes you wonder, how long is it going to be before your elf ears, as you put it, become permanent? What else is going to change on you?
You don't need me anymore tonight for things outside of the bar. You know where to find me.
I send you out right now, you ain't coming home.
Fair
After all,
point.
early to bed, late to rise. Off with you then. Try and enjoy the rest of your evening. I don't know. Maybe he'd take a knife and hack those ears down a bit. Hurt like a son of a bitch, but at least this way it ain't gonna end up making weird, well, shapes from under your hood.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Found
be
out the hard way. Can't wear the helmet with these.
Yeah. Good way to get pulled over. Alright.
Yeah.
You might take your moment. Say goodbye. As you leave, you look at that group of photographs. You know, the kind she keeps in. It's kind of the stuff that is all over the bar that showcases maybe famous people who played, or a group of photos that happen to hang out at the bar. The legacy of the bar. But there's one photo that if you weren't paying attention, it took you a while to get, but you see it. It's actually from the Cosmopolitan back in 1899. Pearl Harbor. Been a long time since she's gone by that name, hasn't it? And I think that is we're going to take a quick little break. And we're back. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Fishmonger, for a brief moment, you, while sitting in the back of Jude's vehicle, waiting for Jude to return, start to wonder, is she going to spend the night or some shit? I mean, you're in the car and parked in your old driveway, you know, back when you lived here. I think your old truck used to be here until they had to sell it off. But eventually, Jude, from Temptation's End, leaves your old house, leaves your family with little more than a goodbye. You can see your wife, still kind of hazy, freshly being fed upon, but probably is just saying it's been a long day. And you can hear humming. Jude's humming a tune to herself, as though she's having a time. And then she stops and looks at her car. She can see the bend of the steel. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. She looks around for a bit. Tries to end up opening it up, realizes the latch is busted. Starts to skim through things. She's reaching in over the console, checks. You can see a whole bunch of old CDs. Looks like they're burned maybe in the 80s, early noughties. Ended up piling out. Checks her stereo to make sure that's still in there. It's very clearly it's been wired in. It itself probably stolen at some point. You're not sure. What the fuck is going on here? Now, would I presume that you are currently using a particular discipline at this point?
I am. I'll do no good if she has aspects, since the unseen, but it's pretty standard for
Why will
stealth.
that not open? Let's refresh and see if we can get it to open. There we go.
Unfortunately, Fish, I know that she does.
Mhm.
At least in a little bit.
That's fine.
It's a roll. Let's see how your how your obfuscate abilities stack
Yep.
up, Venom.
Roll me a wits awareness, please.
Awareness? Okay.
Or wits obfuscate, sorry.
Oh. Okay.
Now, since this is a versus, I'm gonna take half. Meets it beats. She eventually cautiously tries to end up holding the door shut as the engine starts. Seems to be unaware of you as she adjusts things, trying to make sure that everything's in check. You gotta be fucking kidding me. She starts up the engine and starts to back off. You're observing. It's amazing on how the brain just starts ignoring certain things, or ignoring your presence. A misunderstanding of Auspex. Is that Auspex or misunderstanding of Obfuscate? Obfuscate doesn't hide you. No, it's not some kind of cloak of invisibility. It's more accurate to say that people just don't acknowledge evidence of your existence. They just are psychologically hardwired to not look in your direction. Not notice that the weight of the car has shifted. That the old suspension is threatening to bottom out at every turn. While she drives as though she acknowledges this, she doesn't seem to be aware of the sudden weight in addition on the vehicle itself. You can see that she's driving into Temptation's end domain, perhaps getting ready to head home after the evening. Fishmonger, how long do you wait until you make your presence known?
I suppose I'll wait until we're driving in traffic. On a main street.
Wow.
And then I'll say, we need to talk.
You wait for your moment, as odd as it is. It's not like daytime traffic where the streets are congested. Actually, it's surprisingly bare roads with the occasional bit. You see that you actually startle her. Jude turns quickly to realize you're there, and then realizes she almost run off the road, quickly adjusting the car door opening up just enough to get clipped by an oncoming car, shearing it off.
Oof, that's gotta hurt.
She takes a quick look. Dear fucking God, what do you want?
Well, Jude, was it?
Yeah. And you're Fish. She turns her head, and you notice that her head turns unnaturally far. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. She snaps it back to look back forward.
I would like to know what you were doing on the sheriff's turf. Does he know you've got a little herd there of your own?
Be pretty stupid to try and end up doing that without him knowing.
Yes, it would be.
What's it to you?
Those particular people are very important to me.
Yeah, well, so is everybody else. Somebody's important to somebody, and if I was worried about every angle on that regard, eventually everybody goes hungry, so get to your point.
That's true, but didn't the prince provide you with hunting grounds of your own? Why this particular family in someone else's domain?
Are you really wanting to have this conversation?
Yes.
She starts pulling away into an alley. She parks, quickly slips out. Standing there, she's looking. She's more pissed at the fact that the door of her car just got taken out. Well, get out, big guy. Come on.
Just will climb out the back seat,
She just looks up at
trying
you.
to dust himself off.
Don't know if you know this, big guy, but as far as domain goes, yeah, kind of hard to end up doing. Not sure if you're aware of this, but not everybody gets the cushy hid places where they end up having to go to nightclubs and just be able to take their pick. Hey, some of us have to make do.
So this is purely a practical consideration on your. Then
She looks
if
like
I
she's
were to,
Oh, go ahead.
then if I were to say in exchange for your leaving that family alone, provide you with a steady stream of bagged blood, would you be willing to take that deal?
Something changes in her demeanor very, very quickly. And you notice it. It's how she presents herself. She stops and looks to you. Maybe steps a little closer into your personal space, but it's almost like some of the hostility is just vanished. They're important to you, right?
Yes, they are.
I get that. And you want what's best for them. Is that the case?
I would like to keep our world apart as much as possible, yes.
I get that. I get that. But they're also in the sheriff's domain. And he can take whenever he wants, right? And I don't think you've ever dealt with the sheriff before, have you?
I should say, luckily, I've not had the occasion to be in his presence
Okay.
outside of my introduction.
Good. Good. That's... Okay, so what do you think is going to happen if we just fast forward a few years? Let's say I leave them alone, right? I tell them, hey, you know, that deal, I appreciate it, but things have come up. I found a better source. I'm going to have to pass at this point. What do you think happens to them afterwards? Just given a long enough time. Most of the people he feeds on don't tend to make it.
You leave that to me. That's my problem to figure out.
That's a problem. You won't be able to end up doing so, okay? Just... Fish. Fish, you're looking out for him. I get it. You do. Somewhere in that big ugly mug of yours, there's a chance of you being in love still, right? You care about them enough. I can see that. And it pissed you off, I imagine, enough to find me there. I mean, she looks back at her car door, or the lack thereof at this point. And back to you.
Was not pleasant.
Which I get. But right now, you want to take care of them, right? But you can't do anything looking like you do now, right?
I can't be there for them.
So maybe this is a blessing in disguise. You can't. I can.
Are you proposing that I let you feed on them just so you can be
I'm proposing.
my eyes?
I'm proposing that we might be able to help each other out here. I keep it together surprisingly well compared to a lot of people. I know when not to take too much. I have, for what it's worth, I haven't touched the girl.
Something at least.
Look, I'm not looking to do that until at least she's old enough to handle it. By that point, I'd have to age myself out, right? I mean, it would be quite a few years before it started realizing I'm not getting any older. In which case, I'd have to move on. But by that time, you might have something else in mind, right?
The fishmonger is starting to relax a bit as he's thinking this through now. You're right.
So I can't be there forever. But at least right now, the sheriff has incentive to not look in their general direction. And it's through nothing you had to organize. I mean, it seems to me you're getting a pretty good deal on that. All I'm saying is, if you actually do care, then maybe there's a way we can work something out. I'm not exactly rolling in dough myself, but if you happen to come across something that might help, I can bring it to them and say, I figure I help out, here's a little bit of a gift. Most people who are in bad situations don't ask twice. But right now, in our little domain, as you put it, this is the closest thing I got to some me time. This is the closest thing I get to a certainty. Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to feed tomorrow. What's going to happen if it's 3, 4, 5, 6 days? Right? Then what? I leave a body because I lost it? And who's to say that isn't going to be somebody else important to somebody else? And I don't want to risk it. I don't think you want to risk it either. Slow and steady is how we win this, right? I can help look after this little problem of yours. And in turn, maybe we can help each other out. Something that Maurice and Summer don't need to talk about. They don't need to know. At least we have an understanding because we share something important.
So the others, Temptations, and don't know about this little thing you've got going on the side.
If they found out I was doing this, eventually it's going to be one or the other who's going to say, I'm going to need. I'm going to have to provide it for them. Because we're a coterie. And I don't want to put them in any more danger. They need me to keep a level head. I need them to stop looking at me like I'm an answer to a problem that I can't solve.
I can definitely see the benefits of keeping this our little secret. And having a go-between to give them aid would be appreciated.
I'll
Just,
I will do what I
No.
can to keep it sparse. Okay.
yeah, just know that I will be continuing to watch.
That's fine. You can watch everything you want. I'll be your proxy, if it's that important to you.
Thank you, Jude. And he's gonna put a hand on her shoulder. Just a gesture of friendship.
She looks up at you, leans her head over in that unnatural way, and kisses top of your hand. You can see a little bit of that slime that oozes out of your pores, covering the side of her cheek. She just looks at you, smiles. Do what I can, lover.
One more thing before I go. How did you end up meeting them in the first place? I don't assume you randomly entered the house.
A lot of late nights bring a lot of people together. And sometimes somebody just needs a stranger to listen. That's all. Sometimes they need to cry about something. Sometimes they just need to sound like they're heard. And I knew then that there was a chance to, I don't know, get involved with something that didn't have to do with this crazy world of ours. Something that let me escape from it. It's only been going on for a few weeks, but I seem to have made an impact.
Glad they have somebody. Even if it's at a cost.
Sometimes we gotta end up crossing a line or two. Otherwise you're just living in a box of rules. You're living like, well, you're not really living, are you? I mean, you're dead. And they expect you to live in that pine coat suit. That pine box suit of yours. No, it's better to be a little bit more loose. To be able to spread your wings a bit. Really know if you can fly or not. I believe it. And I believe that you really care. And I think that moves me a little bit. Yeah, I know, even a dead thing like me can still feel it sometimes.
That's all I really wanted to talk about. For tonight, at least. You'll glance to the car. Drive safe.
Well, if you want to help, you can always end up getting me a new door at least. You know, just so bygones be bygones.
I'll look into it.
Appreciate it. Gotta move all my CDs out. She gets into her car and starts up the engine. She takes one step on the gas and the car lurches forward and then suddenly stops. She leans out of the doorless side. You coming? Or are you just gonna travel the sewers like the rest of your type do?
I'll take the offer. I wasn't sure if you were going to give me a ride or not. Fish will slowly climb back in.
It's gotta start somewhere. With that, Fish and Jude start to end up driving off into the night, bound by a tiny little secret to call their own. Now, before we end this night, is there anything anybody else wants to do?
I believe Elliot wanted a conversation.
Yeah, he did.
Let's go back to the mansion for a bit. And after Susie is left, it allows the doctor and the coroner to speak privately.
Saturday, I don't know what kind of doctor you are. I'm assuming you are, given how you handled Brian when we met him. So I'm gonna ask, have you seen any fucked up shit in your line of work?
You can't really be called a doctor unless you have.
Have you ever seen something that makes you just completely question everything you believe? Something so horrible that it sickens you to your core?
There have been many of situations where you don't really believe the human body could turn or move that way or bend. And yet, you'd be very surprised with what a dead body can become. It could be very much nightmarish for a few.
Definitely. How do you cope, Saturday? How do you deal with seeing that kind of stuff?
Mr. Jones, let me put down a very harsh truth for you. You never really get used to it. Eventually, it becomes a part of you. You just have to find moments here and there that alleviate the stress. But it is still that tiny bit of memory that creeps in the back of. And you are coroner, true enough, but it is even worse as a, because you deal with people who are already deceased. My sort, dealing with people that depend on me to get them through the day, even if it is a very horrendous accident. It is a very huge weight that is never taken lightly. Part of the reason why it takes so long to get a doctor. Can't just have any Tom, Dick, or Harry coming in and trying to fix someone up. Usually, for me,
Can't
though.
always be like Brian, where I was trying to fix him up.
Yes. Luckily, he recovered, but there are some cases where people can never speak again. And that is putting that particular case lightly. The advice I would give to you is spend time with those that you care about. It will alleviate some of the nightmare.
Thanks, Doc.
No problem. I have been dealing with these sort of things for quite a while.
God, I just never thought it'd be a 12-year-old little girl. Fucking hell.
Yeah, the worst of cases is when they are newborns, 1 or 2 years old. It gets a bit amorphous going into the details. Back when I was alive, I used to smoke quite a bit. I still try it every now and then, even though it does nothing for me. In most cases, you just have to move on. For eventually it will happen again, and again, you just have to hope that it doesn't happen to anyone you truly care about.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Especially given our state of living right now.
Doubly so for that, because you begin to notice all those operations, those bodies that you have seen that you couldn't really explain. And looking back on it, you realize could just have been a kindred that did it.
Believe it or not, that's been a big mystery I've been searching for.
Hmm.
Lost a family member to an unknown murder. Everyone seemed to ignore it. Became a coroner to try to figure it out. And look where I ended up.
Well, at least in one aspect, you have plenty of time to solve it.
Yeah, that's the only bright side.
I do wish you luck in that spot.
Yep. Thank you, Doc, and thank you for the words of advice. I needed it.
No problem.
Now it's about trying to figure out how to look Lila in the eyes again. That's gonna take some work.
Mr. Jones, we are all monsters at this point. Some are just more monstrous than others.
Yeah, that's true. And given the fact that something almost happened, yeah, I guess I can't really hold that against her now, can I?
Not really. It is just another thing to contend with.
Guess a part of me is still too used to being you.
We need to make sure we hold on.
Well, the sun's almost up. We better get rested. Something tells me tomorrow's gonna be a tough day. Night. You know what I mean.
Yes, I do. Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Evening, Doc.
And I think we'll conclude that evening. Each of you able to either get to haven or safety, be it under the roof of the coteries mansion or the the need to end up having everything settled, you can rest. San Jose is quite busy during the day. It's almost a completely different city. The traffic continues to go along, and data goes faster. Trucks import and export, bring goods from all across the country out into what should have been in the middle of nowhere. Fact of the matter is all too frequently, these coming and goings are never really paid too much attention to. The real fame of Silicon Valley is a completely different animal. But at this exact point in time, you will end up finding that news doesn't carry too quickly, not if it wants to be buried. 6 o'clock news doesn't even bring up assault that happened last night. Little more is made of a incident involving a sheared off door of a old theater shadow. There's nothing. Controlled and calm. That's how the kind should be, according to the Camarilla. Not letting too many people know what's going on, even though there are a few who do. It's at this point, anybody who's starting the evening, I would like to get rouse checks across the board. All but Fishmonger get a little bit hungrier. Perhaps the words from Jude about forcing their priorities to hunt has become all the more difficult. But your evening waits. As the sun dies down, those things that have long since died rise again. Echoes of what used to be life, or a crude parody of it in some cases, allow a new day to arrive. One filled with mystery and the echoes of what came before. So, for those at the mansion, let's go down the line. Who is first awake? Keep in mind, if you are Humanity 8 or 7, you start now. If you're below, I'll tell you when to enter.
It sets up.
Susie would be the first to hop up.
Doc would be the second.
Elliot would probably be third.
Let's start off then with Susie. Susie, you awake, much as you normally do. There's a difference between what humans know as sleep and what you know as torpor. That's what it is. When the sun comes up, it's like somebody just flicked an off switch. And when you awake, somebody just flicked the on switch. There's no grogginess, no haze, no needing for caffeine or some form of stimulus, no sudden stirring of an alarm clock hoping to hit the snooze button. You are as wide awake as though you've been going all day.
It's not really so much sleep as it is inactivity. Less like a human and more like machines. But I've woken up feeling hungry. Not lose my mind hungry, but getting there. And unlike these guys, I'm not going to let it get to the point where that becomes a problem.
For those who have just arrived, you do recover willpower equal to your composure or resolve, whichever's highest. However, remember it does not heal aggravated willpower. Susie awakes, Navy next to Doc. Doc, it's much the same for you. There is something that lurks inside that animal, that beast. It craves blood. That craving is getting stronger, and each night you do not feed it continues to threaten to suddenly take control. Because that's what the beast does. It's your instincts getting the better of you. Because, at its heart, even as a medical professional such as yourself, you're quite aware that this is a... You hesitate to use the word biological need, but it's almost as true as any other statement. And eventually it will get the better of you. The beast will wrest control and act upon its own accord in its best interests, whether it serves you or not.
Definitely need to keep that as bay as long as possible. It just adds one extra task onto my list tonight.
Elliot, you might awake. And still a little unnerving. It's like you kind of lost yourself in thought for a minute and suddenly came to, realizing that you're laying down, realizing that you are awake in a new night. For you, time just passed. A reminder of the little things that you've lost, the ability to sleep being one of them. Because torpor isn't sleep. To confuse it with such is a grave misdemeanor.
Well, Elliot is waking up, as Susie put it, lose your mind hungry. So this is going to be interesting.
What is your hunger right now, Elliot?
That would be 5.
Dangerous prospect. Have you ever been this hungry before, Elliot?
Probably don't know. It's probably a new experience.
Yeah, I'd imagine so, especially as you start to look at your compatriots and the beast inside is just waiting for an excuse. Maybe the slightest provocation, you suddenly turn to what Lila became. If you were to consume a kindred holy, what would that do? You may wonder. Can you sustain yourself on kindred blood? Now there's a question to be asked. Is it just mortal blood or not? The academic inside must know. But is that really the voice of an academic? Or is that the voice of a beast? Just trying to pass itself off. Much like you try and pass yourself off as a coroner. You're not. You're the thing that should be on the fucking slab and you know it. continue to play the role anyway. That leaves us with Lila and Fishmonger. Now, Lila, you chose to stay the night at your sire's. Those ears are still perked, though they may be fading a tiny bit. You still see the physical changes that have taken place, ones you've frenzied, unique to the Gangrel curse, something that lingers. But you are awake, and you hunger a little bit more.
Back down to normal. Or at least what normal passes for anymore. First thing she's going to do once she's up is she's going to double check the ears. And then go and find a knife, taking her sire's advice. And do a little bit of a hack job to get them back down to size.
Now, I'm not going... This is going to take 1 point of superficial damage, but it's going to end up letting you assist in your attempt to masquerade with a few bandages or maybe a headband. You don't bleed. In fact, something different happens. As you take the scissors, maybe, get a proper cut, start to snip at your own ears. The beast recoils as you start to harm. You want to end up biting into something, howling, yelling. You try and end up keeping it together. It's difficult. Thankfully, the noise downstairs at the bar covers up any groaning that might end up escaping your lips. But as those pieces of you fall off, you see them start to smolder, blacken, crumble, becoming just 2 small lumps of ash.
She's gonna look at them for a moment and then clean them away, leaving no trace of it behind. And once she's done, she's gonna grab her stuff and head back to the coterie house.
And Fishmonger, what of you? Where was it
Well,
that Jude dropped you off?
I would say he would probably have asked her to return to the menagerie's mansion. And so he would have spent the night there. And with 5 humanity, he's probably definitely the last one to awaken.
Is there anything anybody would have done before Fishmonger then has gained their presence? An advantage offered to those who maintain their humanity.
Yes.
Looks like we have Susie with something in mind.
Going hunting.
Definitely going hunting.
Now, are you both hunting individually, or you going as a...
Oh, I'm certainly hunting individually, taking one look at him and see how hanging he is. Nah, I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm hunting on my own.
Fair.
I don't blame you.
I'll assist Elliot the best I can.
Interesting. So let's begin first with Susie. Susie, would you be able to roll me your typical hunting and describe a little bit on how it typically goes?
The typical hunting is quite simple. It's looking for those who go down early in the evening, sneaking into their places, quiet, without a sound, On purpose. Literally muffling every sound that she makes.
And your current hunger is at 3.
Yes.
Go ahead and give me the hunting roll.
Yes. I am also using Obfuscate for this. If
That will not
Isn't
affect
clear?
the roll. That will not affect
that will
this
not
roll.
affect.
No.
It won't affect this roll because it is a deck stealth.
It
That is
is.
my regular
It
hunting
is.
roll.
It is a dex stealth, but remember, obfuscate is not a bonus to that. Obfuscate is a different manner entirely. In this exact regard, person's already unconscious, so it's not you are trying to avoid somebody who's actively listening.
Oh, that's not great.
You need 5 in order to make it. So I will give you, Susie, I will give you a succeed at a cost, and this one's actually surprisingly straightforward.
Sure.
1 aggravated willpower damage. You have to push yourself, maybe a little bit harder than most would. Dedicate yourself entirely to the task. But
Yeah. I'll take it.
how much are you taking, Susie?
2.
Susie, it's not hard. Especially with modern locks. It's a case of being able to get through them, and especially with everybody trying to do touchpads on their doors and all that, it just flows right into your capabilities. That's not where the challenge comes in. The challenge is getting close enough. This guy here, for instance, let's take a look. Looks fit, probably works a warehousing gig. Probably starts off at 5 a.m. and works himself for 12 hours and then goes to bed. You can already see that place is a wreck. He's got half a bowl of soup still in his bedside. Probably eats in bed just to end up finding time to end up getting something in his stomach. And you do feed. You take from him and you find a... The blood itself is not particularly potent. It's more of an aftertaste. Perhaps the doldrum of the day has weathered it. Doesn't stop you from maybe lifting a couple of bucks out of the change drawer when you leave. You proceed to lock the door behind you and close it. You're very grateful that certain security systems are very easy to bypass, and those who can't afford the kind of protections required to keep you out, I mean, really, who could, they don't exist in large numbers. You're a predator that takes advantage of those who are already asleep. Fewer witnesses, if done right. And if done wrong, well, hopefully you can keep it together before the person in the next room wakes up. Hasn't been a complication yet, but you can do it. Now that leaves us with Elliot and Doc. Now, Elliot, you have to typically go bagging, which means you are very, very focused on trying to end up making sure that you don't lose yourself, because you got to end up going over to the coroner's office to be able to end up taking out the blood samples that typically go. If I recall, that is your preferred method of feeding.
That would be correct.
So with that in mind, I would like you to make me a feeding roll. We're looking for a 5+.
That is under what again?
That is your typical feeding roll, which if you are...
Under blood and XP, right?
Yep. It's your predator roll.
Any mod? Any modifiers?
No modifiers.
Roger, Roger.
I want me assistant.
Oh, no. Correction. You are getting +1 from the dock, so. Only 2 successes, and we need 5. Elliot, I'm going to give you a succeed at a cost. And since I think you've had enough complications for now, I'm going to say this cost is going to be much like Susie's. 1 point of aggravated willpower damage.
I gotta take it.
Now, these samplings are not exactly large scale, so there's only so much you can take. However, I would like for you to roll me a frenzy check, please. You're going to need difficulty 3 to pass. So go down to the bottom, click frenzy, enter in your remaining willpower and your current humanity.
And no modifier, correct?
No modifier on this one, nope.
Out of 4.
Elliot, the call is strong. You want to just unplug them all and guzzle them all down. To take out of the security guard that's just around the corner. You kind of hope in some part of you that something goes wrong. Because what you're tasting isn't warm. It's actually unnaturally cold. To preserve itself, you take what you can. But it is so hard not to rip through and bite into the glass. Just to make it go down quicker. It's a disciplined mind that can hold a frenzy at bay. Thankfully, Elliot, you have that. At least for now. Doc, you would observe Elliot who, after feeding, has to mark down particular points of, well, technically evidence as disposed. After all, it's a biological hazard. In certain cases, maybe continue to go missing, maybe have already been taken back. Whatever the excuse is, Elliot needs to fulfill the form. But Elliot, you managed to get up to 2 points of hunger down. Puts you down to 3. You're manageable, if not barely. But this leaves us going back to the coterie house by the time you all arrive. Fishmonger is awakened, and Lila is finally approached. Summer seems to have awoken at some point during your hunting, as they have more excursions to do. Such a busybody, that one, having to constantly go about. Seems they always have something on the go. Then again, what can you expect from a venturer?
Well, nice to see you all up and about.
Good to see you as well.
Morning.
Evening.
So, hopefully things on your end is well.
Better than they were when I ended last night.
It's been taken care of. You don't have to worry about that one.
Appreciate it.
But we do have to probably worry about the sheriff.
Always something. Always
Why?
something.
What's the sheriff doing?
Ah, Fish, it's good to see you. Your
Hi.
sire wears bandages, right?
He wears a lot of stuff.
I had a
Bandages is
visit
only one
from
of
her.
them. Oh?
She doesn't pass any messages along for you? Only for the coterie saying, the sheriff's probably gonna be getting involved. So to keep an eye out for him.
Okay. Minnie's always light on the details. Uh, I guess she wouldn't give us a heads up if there was nothing behind it. What did you think of her, by the way? Curious
I'll
to
be
know.
honest, she absolutely terrified me. She appeared in the middle of my coroner's office.
Is there anything that doesn't terrify you?
Lately, no. But I've learned to deal with some of it.
Well, then you're gonna
Sure,
need to
she
begin
relished in your
crying a little
fear.
harder.
Shut up, Susie.
Yeah, she's just come through the door at this point.
Another interesting thing is a person in bandages has been seen going around this area. Rumors
Is it the
of
same person?
something very much unnatural.
Could be. I mean, I'd flatter myself if I thought she was specifically looking out for me. But, you know,
Given the description, it is most likely her.
She used her excuse of you, but I don't really know why she came to me if her excuse was you.
No, 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 no. You don't get it.
probably she can't be seen involving herself with us.
No, no, she wants our attention. She wants to point something out. Why else would someone who is of the same ken as you, Vish, make themselves obviously known so that we'd pick it up? Because it's not like you can't hide.
Yeah, if she didn't want you to know, she wouldn't let herself be found. But
Exactly. So what does she want? Why is she trying so hard to get our attention?
you'd have to ask her.
I'm gonna leave that to you. Your sire,
She's
after
your
all.
sire, after all.
Have to agree with that one.
I mean, you're welcome to come along.
Jinx.
Oh, I'm good.
Under a white roof. That ain't happening, Lila.
You know, I think I'll take you up on that offer.
Oh yeah, I'll come along. Why not?
Like fun. Go along too.
Well, shit, if everyone else is going, might as well.
You'll be fine, Elliot. Won't
Oh, I'm
let
sure
her
I'll
hurt
be
Spirit?
you.
fine. It was mostly the stapled hair to her scalp that was really got me.
Mm.
Stapled hair.
Yeah, it seemed like she ripped the scalps off people with their hair attached and stapled it to her own.
And you know, I thought the hack job I had to do to my own ears today was bad.
Yeah, that's the part that actually scared me. Was I don't. She might have done that to the girl. I don't know, and I don't want to know.
Generally, it's her own victims. She does that too. But I mean, if she sees something shiny, she's not one to pass up opportunity for self-expression, as she likes to call it.
He has a very odd way of self-expressing that.
I mean, Fishmonger's gonna lift up his hood. You can see he's got, like, thin wisps of, like, white-gray hair. This doesn't have, like, hair. It's basically matted and stuff, and says, well, our condition, at least the one I share with my sire, doesn't usually leave us with a lot in the way of self-expression with hair. So,
That's a fair
I
point.
think
That's a fair point.
I will agree, though, it is a little barbaric to take trophies from your victims. We'll put the hood back up.
So how do you normally contact her, Fish?
There are a couple locations through the sewers, of course, that we have, let's call them secret meetings. Not quite sure which one I could meet her at just yet, but that's a good question for the storyteller, actually. Would I know any other locations she would frequent?
Only a handful. Due to you being little more than fledglings, you have not been given full knowledge of any warrens that may or may not exist in the entirety of San Jose. And it's not like the warrens are a open secret. While the idea of Nosferatu existing in the sewers, for most Nosferatu, it's good enough to leave it at that. Mostly because, at the very least, if they think that you exist in the sewers, they're not looking anywhere deeper. You have a handful of locations you may be able to, though it might require some time. But she's also apparently looking to get in touch with you, so perhaps a location might come to mind that would be a little easier.
He's one of the few that knew about my past life. If she's really looking to make contact, perhaps find her at one of those spots, maybe by my grave or by my family. But to check all the spots would take quite some time. For some reason, I still think it's because she can't really be officially seen interfering with us. She hasn't come directly to the mansion to talk to us. So we're gonna have to do some sightseeing.
So, it's off to see Minuet, the lovely Minuet. How many are actually going on this trip? Is that everybody?
Are you sure it's up?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like for Fish specifically to roll me a intelligence wits. I'll give you a +1 on this, given the fact that it is your sire. It is somebody close to you.
Ooh.
Now, Fishmonger, do you want to spend willpower, or would you like to succeed at a cost?
Let's hear the cost.
The cost is an aggravated willpower, much as earlier done for the other two.
I am going to reroll.
Very well then. Spend a willpower and reroll 3 dice.
Very helpful. It's 2.
Mm.
Oops. 2 successes.
Fishmonger, it's going to take a long portion of the night. I would say at least a quarter of your active playtime, leaving you to for then half the night to be over. However, at this exact time, you wait by your grave. After all, it's Minuet. She has a flair for the dramatic, and it takes you quite some time. In fact, most of you would probably be bored out of your goddamn skulls thinking you're chasing ghosts. Fish, it's not until a little ways down, probably been here for maybe a half hour, an hour, before eventually a figure dressed in black, funeral attire no less, starts to make their way towards a recently upturned grave, now hastily thrown back together, with a single wilted rose to place upon it. She falls to her knees and starts to play her role of a recent near lost love, maybe grieving over the grave of someone they held dear. She's playing it up like nobody's business at this point. Treating it more like as if she's on a play than anything else. But gives you some time to approach. Or warn, depending on how you take these things.
Fishmonger is going to approach her slowly and start clapping. I appreciate it, Minnie. But, you, wanted to speak with me?
You all end up seeing Minuet. And, at least to confirm, Elliot, this is indeed the individual you saw. She's dressed in funeral attire with black lace veil over her face, which very much obfuscates her own horrible visage, though through the holes in the pattern you can definitely see a familiar face. She brings herself to fall to her back to lay over your own grave as she places her arm to her forehead. Oh, woe is me. Oh. Mon dear Fish, have you no sense of pageantry in the grieving of one so lost? Or to be filled in your bosom with the sadness that it would overtake you, make you wish to end up throwing yourself into the ocean like a lost mongrel? She stands herself, dusts herself off, and she starts to look at the rest of you. And I am so glad to see that you have found friends. To end up bringing them all to moi? Oh, mon cœur, mon cœur.
Well, I'm a little hurt, Lenny. You paid a couple of my friends a visit, but you never came to see me.
Business before pleasure? And it was all business with the coroner, I certainly say. She seems to kiss the air, but her lack of lips make it a little bit difficult. Not to say they're completely gone, just withered hunks of leather.
Yes, the unfortunate business from last night.
And unfortunate it is. I wish to end up simply telling you that I would be witnessing around, and that I wasn't the only one. After all, the whole of the court has an interest in your comings and goings. Tell me, have you all been keeping an eye out? Have you heard the news? No?
I
Silence?
can't say that I have.
Incroyable. It is more the pity. I end up finding myself at a loss for words. If only there was a way to ensure that they remain sealed. I'm sorry, Mademoiselle Susie, am I boring you? I see you roll
No,
your
I'm
eyes
just-
at me over and over again. Tell me you feel
I'm
that you can
just-
place a better performance?
I'm just listening to you talk.
I'm glad somebody does. So let's get down to why it is that it was all business. First, the loss of life is tragic. The loss of a child, newsworthy. The accosting of an entire family. Oh, I'm sure somebody would have tried to end up making that national news. Thankfully, the Camarilla has been sure to end up covering up such things, but now the rumors end up going. Did they choose well? Did they fail Prince Harrington? Are they too young to be stumbling without sire in each other's company, where they may be giving each other ideas that are très terrible? Je ne sais pas. I am not here to end up goading you one or the other, but to let you know that you are being watched, and perhaps others to know something important. Come on, we have a group of intellectuals here, clearly. Surely the Tremere have come to notice something. Or is it the surgical precision of the doctor that is supposed to end up observing? I would expect little of the gangrel, and any observances of a child of Melcav I would leave to question. Now I know, my dear fish, mon petit poisson, this was never your stake in the game, but I hope at the very least you have come to think further on the action.
Yeah, better a stake in the game than a stake in the heart.
Well spoken, well spoken. Come now.
Kind of thinking on that out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Since Doc has been doing a bit of digging, would he have, like, overall general digging of the area? Would anything stick out that's odd? Because as Susie has stated, she could be unseen, but she has chosen to pop up here and there. Have there been others doing the same? Other strange talkings?
No. However, there is something. There is another angle here you're not considering. Let's see who can follow along. Minuet is making herself clearly showcasing she's in that area. She wanted your attention, certainly, but there's a secondary advantage here, or disadvantage, depending on who you are.
He's specifically getting us to notice her, and we're not noticing anything that might be going on. It's not being visible. A distraction.
What would she benefit from a distraction? Why would she hamstring her own operation in Fishmonger?
Another kind of test.
On the side of she's trying to help out because she believes, the sheriff is going to get involved and she wants to protect her asset in Fishmonger, at the very least.
So what does her presence do? How would that qualify as a kind of soft power protection?
Wait, that's not for us. That'd be for the sheriff.
A little closer. Come
The
on,
sheriff has a lot of the sheriff has a lot of things that he can do. He has a lot of power in the court, but at the same time, he also has a lot of obligation, a lot of responsibility, and rules that he has to play by. You can't just make people disappear willy-nilly.
So what does Minuet's presence complicate?
Being not Civ something.
Think about the reputation of the Nosferatu.
They're informants.
They hold information. He'll never get the drop, because if Minuet's there, there's always the thought that we may always see him coming.
Partially
It
right.
seems
Is
like
it just him though?
No, it's
could
anyone
also be
else.
Temptation's End.
That too. Could be anyone looking to encroach. It's a matter of there's a Nosferatu obviously on the prowl. They have eyes.
And not just any Nosferatu, one that was given permission if they're Camarilla. I don't know if Minuet is Anarch or Camarilla.
Minuet
She was
is-
Anarch, but she joined with the others.
Yeah, she's acting as a deterrent. Now, the question is to who?
It also begs the question, since she's doing this,
What did she get from it?
right? Because she could just be helping out Fish, but let's be honest, that's not true. She's obviously doing that on one hand, but also trying to play for something else.
She wouldn't be doing it if she wasn't getting something.
Or that might be why we're here, put down negotiation.
Think you had enough time out of character to piece a few things together?
Hmm.
Step after step after step.
Minuet smiles a bit. Besides, that is not the thing that has the whole of the Camarilla in what do Americans call it? A tizzy? Certainly no. No. It is a name. Everybody's speaking it. And everybody worries about it.
Second Inquisition.
No. If it were, we would not be having this conversation. But I know what the court is currently all about. New guest of honor. So I would like to end up making a proposed deal, so to speak. A simple one. In fact, I believe that at this exact moment, we are looking at finding somebody to distract the sheriff from current events. Something to keep the hound so focused as to not end up falling upon you. I think you would turn your eye to your neighbor and ask yourself, what have they done? A bruja and a follower of said ministry who are now involved in the Camarilla due to a lick of a toreador, a rose, who seems incredibly incompetent. Surely there is something that you could bring to light? A trade of information? Find me something that I can use. And for that, I'll even pay it up front and tell you a name that allows you to prepare for the guest of honor who is coming.
Okay. I think I can get down with this deal. What say the rest of you?
Fine by me.
She's offering information. She has my interest.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about angering our neighbors, though.
Oh,
We anger one, we don't anger the other. We don't take the deal, we still anger one, and yet still not anger the other. Either way,
But
we're
I'd be
pissing
more
someone off.
afraid of the sheriff than I would Temptation's End.
Don't worry more about him.
Look, I'm a physical weakling and I feel like I could stab Marcello in half. I think it's fine.
I would be
Did you
more
call him
concerned about Cole.
Yeah, but that's why we have fish.
I'm so glad you have an answer for everything, you
Well, there is also
broken thing, you.
6 of us.
True, you have the numbers. Hopefully they don't have too much more experience than you. I know very
Pretty
little
sure
of...
Summer would agree with me, though.
Kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and I mean, Summer.
Well, Summer isn't here to give her opinion now, is she?
She's also struck me
No.
as a little cagey as of late regarding that.
She may not be here, but she is still a part of this group. and it should be unanimous if we are to go forward.
How oddly democratic.
I know. Feels weird.
Well, I was hoping to be able to indulge tonight, but as I can see your hesitation, I will not bind you. Simply to say that this is an appropriate moment for you to get all your ducks in a row and know exactly what you are all doing together. You will not get many opportunities. As you know, the Camarilla has you so much on a pedestal, but in truth, the opportunities that are going to come your way will be few and far between. I thought you might benefit from being on the inside track, but perhaps a lack of ambition is what defines Camarilla licks. No. You do the prince proud. Keep your noses clean. Don't involve yourself in the petty squabbles of your elders. She starts to take her first few steps down the path. And since no one stops her, she continues to go down it. And you watch as though her body just disappears. As though she became ephemeral.
Well, her acting wasn't half bad.
Haste
Oh,
makes
you
waste.
should say that to her the next time you meet her. She'll like that compliment.
Bit over the top. Not bad.
This was an interesting experience.
Indeed it was.
Very deteriorated with all the beauty.
She has my interest on a name. What would a name have that helps prepare for the sheriff?
What's in a name, you say? The very
way.
essence of hell itself is in a name.
Aware of
So-
that, I'm meaning more it as who would trying to find a good way to frame this. Who is the person who would help us either prepare or get on the good side of the sheriff?
It's not about the sheriff.
No.
It's about this guest of honor. And if someone's coming into the city and they're being called a guest of honor, it's probably
Who
someone
knows?
kind of important. So we need to figure out whether we're going to go ahead and shove Temptation's end or not.
I feel like the price is too steep.
Not really.
Tread carefully.
Mm.
I think this requires a healthy dose of pragmatism. We got
In
given
that
part
case,
of-
I say we should be good neighbors and build a base of power of our own instead of
Oh
throwing
yes,
our neighbor under the bus.
I agree. But why, oh why, would we build an empire of our own when we can just take something away from somebody else?
Not like we haven't done that already.
And we've already taken from two empires. Let's take from another.
No, it's not taking from another. We've already taken, and we didn't take it. We were given it.
Yeah,
Now
That's
we're
gonna
taking-
be the same thing here. If we take away from Temptation's End, we're not gonna get more of Temptation's End space. The Camarilla is just gonna take it, give it to someone else.
Are they?
Yeah. You heard Minnie. She said everyone's eyes are on us. We're not.
Yes,
everyone's-
exactly. So if their eyes were to tick to someone else, say Temptation's End, and they were dealt with, that resulting land would probably go to someone who was more than willing to point out their indiscretions. Cough, cough.
Sounds like a lot of what ifs to me.
No, that's not
Everything's
a
a
lot
lot of
of.
what ifs.
There isn't really a lot of what ifs in it. Because you want to know what happens. My kin in that particular kind of affliction aside, you don't want to know what we become like this. We become predictable.
Oh no, perish the thought that someone might know who you are, Susie.
Perish the thought that spending enough time around someone, especially someone whose mind doesn't evolve in the same way anymore, will be stuck in the same old habits. This, we're stuck. But the
For your
same
sake,
can be said-
Susie, I hope that is not true.
But the thing is, no matter how much they learn, no matter how much they do, so is everyone else. And I plan to
Overall,
use, and I plan to use that to our advantage.
overall, even though Minuet has given us that the special person is coming, why not just look into this person ourselves and see what we dig up ourselves?
Because
We
you
could
want to know
try
what
that.
happened the last time we went digging on our own?
Things turned
a
upside
certain
down.
exploding computer comes to mind.
Exploding computer and second Inquisition raids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's not turn on any computers then. Let's do it the old-fashioned way.
Things don't work the old-fashioned way. Especially not when it comes to models. The point
Especially not in a
is...
city like this.
Yeah,
She
Silicon
did
Valley.
say that we might have been the only people to not hear of it. What are the
But,
odds that Nation's End would know who this person is?
What are the odds indeed?
I mean, sure. We could ask them.
Doesn't hurt. Fish wants to make friends with the neighbors. Why don't we ask them? If they know something, they know something. If they don't, we don't.
Only neighborly after all.
Let's go ask them for a cup of sugar, shall we?
It is also a factor we could go to Elysium. See what the
Oh shit, look, Doc, that's a real ballsy move. Elysium?
you don't get
Like-
big payouts without taking a few risks.
Oh, hey, no, I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's a big risk.
Considering the fact that we are supposed to be the Camarillas bonding together with the Anarchs, we haven't even tried to go to Elysium once. So
I suppose you are right. It has been a month, and we should probably make ourselves known in the place where the court gathers. Given that we're meant to be the shining jewel and all, who knows? We might actually pick something up.
I'd say if we were to go, we should bring the entire coterie. As much as I. It would probably look better than us appearing without one of our member, no?
Correct.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, means I have to get dressed all formal. Ugh.
It
Fancy
won't kill you.
fancy parties never really suit my style, if I'm being honest.
Always
only
lend you one
once
of
in
my
a
hoodies,
while.
Susie.
Wait, I missed that. What was that? Sorry.
I could always lend you one of my hoodies, Susie.
Look, if we're doing this, and we are doing this, I'd say it's best that we do it tonight.
I disagree. How do we know Elysium is even meeting tonight? We
True,
don't
but how
know
do we?
enough of
How
what
do?
we're walking into.
Well, I can ask. Obviously, I have a contact.
Hey, Derek.
Yep.
Would I know how Elysium operates? As in, how often is Elysium open? Is it open constantly, or are there specific meetings?
You're a
How
little
well
older,
formed
so I'm
is it?
gonna give you an intelligence politics, but I'm gonna lower the difficulty a little bit.
Okay. Hmm. That's true.
That'll work. The Cathedral Basilica of Saint Joseph. Very public venue, though technically open only during the day. Finds its doors open for all kindred who wander in. Now, that being said, as far as formal gatherings, they're few and far between. Namely, to not draw too much attention to the Elysium itself, especially with the Second Inquisition attacks that have happened very regularly not more than a few years ago, while have died down, have made the Camarilla cautious about bringing too much attention to Elysium unless absolutely necessary. It has been used for a handful of events, as would be expected of a church of its size. The masquerade is rarely a suggestion, but it is one of the premier spots that is protected by the Camarilla itself. As far as frequency of gathering, while there may be a kindred at all times in the process, a keeper of sorts, it is not like you have seen in other cities. Other cities, there's always a handful of kindred there to wander about, but in this case, there's very, very few. At best, it qualifies as almost a passing of messages. A keeper of Elysium could aspire to be a harpy, knowing the ins and outs, passing messages as though it were the public mailbox, so to speak. Though oftentimes in verbal format, at the very least, it serves as a choke point for all the comings and goings when it comes down to kindred affairs, requires tighter security, and hence not frequently used for mass gatherings, save for very particular events.
Interesting. There's usually a keeper the majority of the time. Specific events are few and far. So there will always at least be one kindred there. But considering they are that one constant, could probably get some information out of them. But it would be a price, more than likely.
Any idea what that price normally entails?
It depends on the kindred. I wouldn't know specifically.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what it would be either. Hmm. Well, that's something that we need to figure it out. Yeah?
Indeed.
I think knowing the price before we ask the question might be beneficial.
Does knowing the price change whether you're going to ask for the information?
Yeah.
It also gives
One-
less time for people to know the question and change the answer.
Overall, it would be one price over the other.
I'll,
So the question is, which is the lesser of the evils?
exactly. But
Well, that's the
think I
question
know.
that needs answered.
Look, I have a way of dealing with that, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna make some calls. And she's actually gonna head back to the coterie house.
What about the rest of you?
Lila
As
will go
much
back
as,
to the house. Not
As
much
much as
more
I-
she can do out here.
as much as I would like to stick together, I have some things I must do at the.
You want any help with that?
No, they are just minor things, but I want to get some things prepared before fully going out.
Well, let us then have everyone depart for the evening. And I'd like to call this session to an end. The night's half over, but the fun has just begun. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me tonight. And there we go as a session.
Oh boy.
So who's
Coffee, I know you're listening, and I know that Summer wants to be buddy buddy with Temptation's End. But they need to go into the meat grinder. It's
Nope.
just how it is.
Hey, at
Faithful
least Elliot
advocates
actually
or
tried to
not.
involve her this time instead of just going, "Oh yeah, let's go talk to him about Summer."
Well, there's the question, right? But
Yep.
that being said, we have two stains to resolve right now, both of them on Fish. So, Fish, the
Yep.
first one is because a touchstone has come into harm, giving you one stain. However,
Yeah.
would you be kind enough to read your, I believe it's your second conviction?
For Anna, yes. The one she promised she wasn't touching, but it still hurts. To protect the innocent from harm.
So, you have failed on 1 and 2 fronts, giving you 2 stains. So
Yes.
could I get a remorse check, please?
Oh, yes. I am super remorseful, even if the check fails. Oh, right. I have to put in the remorse dice. I have 3, because I have that 5 humanity.
It's a 1.
Fishmonger, you are
success.
not comfortable with this arrangement in the slightest. It still irks you.
Yeah.
It
Oh, yeah.
is-
I'm
it's going to
definitely
eat at
going to be
you.
watching.
It's going to eat at you. Pardon the pun. That being said, we can now go into experience. Black Wolf, if you'd be kind enough to get the poll up for Fishmonger, for Lila, for Doc, for Susie, and Elliot. Now, we do experience a little bit differently here, but I'm going to also alter one thing in there. So we have experience that goes to everybody for showing up tonight. We have the players vote on 3 topics: who pushed the plot, who had the best scene, who had the best line. But then we have a 5th point of experience, and that comes down to the audience vote. Now, because it's been a few nights, unfortunately, we've been missing Coffee Cat. Get well, Coffee Cat. I know you've been sick and you've been trying to fight it off, but I don't want you to rush your recovery and jump into a game that's just going to get rougher on your vocal cords right now. But because right now the odds of these bonus experience have been landing on more consistent members, I'm going to end up dropping it for 1 this exact time. Because we've been kind of doubling up on numbers, but we didn't have the numbers, which was the whole reason for doubling them up in the first place. So just for tonight, we're going to make it 1 across the board. Okay? But then we're going to go into the voting. Now, this is the interesting part of the way we do experience here, because the whole point is that this is literally a little bit of like political play in Vampire done for experience. So, there's going to be a whole bunch of wheeling and dealing, winks and nudges, you owe me, that kind of stuff. So on occasion, it does go to the person who deserves it. On occasion, some political tomfoolery arrives, and we encourage this wholly in the spirit of the game. So, who pushed the plot? Who's the plot pusher on this one?
I would say Fishmonger had, even if he didn't directly push, he seems to have strung together a lot of the events with Jude and then with Minuet. So yeah, I would vote for myself.
Okay, anybody want to throw another name in the ring?
No, I'm willing to agree
Give
with
it
that.
to Fish.
Okay, Fish, congratulations, uncontested once again. We're going to end up going to the second one. Who had the best scene?
I'm gonna vote Doc.
What scene specifically?
The talk with Elliot.
That was a good one. That was actually a very good one. Anybody feel they can
I'll
top that?
toss mine in there with the scene between Lila and her sire.
2 contentions between Lila and Doc, and for some good reasons.
Oh, go Doc.
2 for Doc, 1 for Lila. So what about Fishmongers, Elliot, and Susie? Where's your votes going?
You already have mine.
Which one's yours?
Yeah, to Doc.
Mine was for the one that started for Doc.
You're going for Doc. Yeah, so that's 2 for Doc. Doc, that's 3. So even if Fishmonger votes Lila, it's still going to Doc. So Doc, congratulations, you end up having it. Another point for Doc Saturday. All right, let's talk about who had the best line.
I want to give that to Elliot for the so let's go borrow a cup of sugar
I
line.
did like that. That was almost crafty.
I'll give myself that one. Why not?
I like better a stake in the game than a stake in the heart.
Mm. Fishmonger fighting for all that experience, so it's 2 Elliot, 1 Fishmonger.
I'll go
I
Elliot.
didn't really have a standout line.
3 Elliot. Okay, that's 3 votes Elliot. That makes majority. Congratulations, Elliot, for getting the line of the night. Congratulations.
Nice.
Now, you guys still in the audience get an opportunity to vote on who gets the bonus XP. And right now, it's a fairly even split almost entirely across the board. The big two right now is Elliot and Fishmonger, but Lila is 2 votes. Susie's with 3 votes now. Susie's 3, Fishmonger. Oh, it looks like we're about to get into the eBay wars going in. Susie pulling ahead. Now it's between Fishmonger and Susie. If you guys got a favorite, that's what those challenge points are for. Remember, we don't get to end up voting, so at that point,
Horse racing.
Yeah, we're back at the horse race. I love this part. We're actively looking at it. Fishmonger with 24, Susie 18, 22. Holy shit! Some people throwing down some stuff for Elliot, getting
There's
up to
someone
7.
really voting Susie with their points.
Yeah. Well, hey, this is what we're waiting on. That last minute.
Well, Susie pulls ahead.
Susie's pulling ahead. Oh, there's
By a little bit.
There's somebody fanboy
2%.
girling over
2%.
here. Yep. Susie, that e-girl
so
personality going in strong. And they got
Yep.
Fishmonger. Oh, Fishmonger though. There are some people. Okay.
Ooh, Susie's
Somebody
pulling
is
ahead.
making sure.
A lot of dropped off Fishmonger.
Yeah, that's more than
Holy
one
shit.
person voting for Susie.
Also, thank you for the vote of competence specs.
Coffee!
Yo, coffee.
Coffee!
Yeah, Coffee gets to vote. He's not involved in this one, so he's going Susie.
Damn, he must have like 500k channel points to
Oh, I
vote
wouldn't
with.
doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
124,000.
But there's only so many times he can do that before, eventually the tide of fate will end up overcoming. Congratulations then, Susie, on the audience vote.
They tolerate me. They
They
really
tolerate you.
Now, very quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Does fulfilling desire heal aggravated? Because I know we've done it like that.
Yes,
in the
it
past.
does.
Cool. Then I can heal that aggravated I took because I had a very simple desire tonight.
Fantastic.
And what was that?
Hunt.
That's fair. I probably should have changed it, but mine is still to be called a doctor at least once. Still hasn't happened.
Oh my god, a small load of 250,000 channel points. Yeah,
no
that's
kidding.
funny.
Huh? Wow. Still.
It's okay, Black Wolf. You don't always have to vote for me. I appreciate it though.
Yeah, but that was huge. So I'd like to thank everybody who ended up throwing in the votes there. Let us take a quick look at. Let me go to categories real quick. Unfortunately, we seem to be the only VPN or VTM play right now. However,
See Vancouver by Night's in the chat.
yeah. Let's take a look at who is currently live in our little circuit here. And I think you know what? Just because I know we got a whole bunch of Dead by Daylight players in here, and I kind of feel like I owe them due to the fact that I made their life a living hell, given my obsession with a certain box that has a certain configuration that might cause limitation. I am going to end up raiding into Joyful Kitsune, who loves to end up getting torn to bits by chains and being hung up on meat hooks, which seems appropriate for this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is going to be VTM Workshop along with the Battletech Workshop afterwards. So if you have any questions about the Vampire the Masquerade session that we played, any questions about the game, character creation, ideas, plots, whatever you have, if it involves Vampire the Masquerade, especially if you're new to the channel or new to the game, do end up checking us out. I make time specifically to do so. You can ask me at any time, but I specifically dedicate the first 3 hours of tomorrow's broadcast minimum to Vampire the Masquerade. So I hope to end up seeing you all there as we end up continuing to this journey of the world of darkness. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Right.
Maybe now we can finally get that sugar.
I don't know why they keep doing this to me.